Okay, so I don't know specifically, but if my math is correct, by the time you're seeing this video, not the time I film it, by the time you're seeing this, I should have had a video up every week for about a year. It's currently sitting at about 11 months, I think. But anyway, so that's kind of a goal that I set, was to try and have a weekly video, not really for a year, but, do weekly videos. And so far I've managed to do that. Some of them have been a little early, some have been a little late for varying reasons. I've changed from doing them on Saturdays to doing them on Friday nights because I do a full-time job along with this that likes to do overtime on Saturday mornings. So, upload the day before. And, just journal stuff. It was never really an upload schedule so much as kind of a goal that I wanted to be able to make weekly videos. And, at least for the past year, I've managed to actually get that done. So I decided to do something just kind of fun for this video. Again, this isn't really like an anniversary or anything of me doing anything, just kind of a video that I was having to do along. Just kind of planned and then decided that, hey, it's all at the same time. But I decided I'm going to do a tacticool katana, which, if you're unfamiliar with the term, tacticool is basically weapons and equipment that are labeled as tactical that you would never see in any actual tactical situation. Like you wouldn't see a SWAT team or a Navy SEAL carrying these things. But they're still really cool and, they're fun. Like, basically any tactical melee weapon pretty much falls in this category. Especially swords. But, they're still fun to do, and I thought, hey, why not give it a shot? So, I have this chunk of leaf spring here. It's going to be my main sword, and for the blade, I'm actually going to do... This is the Cold Steel Katana Machete. Their original one. I don't think they make these anymore. I don't know, though. I haven't looked. And it kind of has this straight, reverse tanto, or whatever the hell you want to call that point. I used a similar one for my tactical knife that I made a while back, if you've seen that video. But I was wanting to make something like this for a while, and I like the blade shape. The handle is, it's there. So, what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to forge that. I don't quite know what I'm going to do for the guard or anything, but then I want to make like a stacked leather handle for, the handle. So it's not really going to be any sort of historical, or it's probably barely going to be classified as a katana at that point, but I'm going to call it that, call it tacticool and all that. And it's just kind of a fun project that, hey, sometimes it's fun to use old-fashioned techniques to make kind of supposed to be modern style blades. So anyway, I'm going to chuck this in the forge and get hammering. So now that I have everything forged, usually I would grind the profile of everything to make everything shaped the way I want and then, grind the flats. However, with this blade, I want to make sure my flats are perfectly straight. So I'm going to get a straight edge, which will probably just be a piece of, bar stock or something, and draw it onto where I have it, perfectly straight. But to do that, I kind of need to get all this crusty stuff off. So I'm going to grind the surface of it first and get that ground down so that way I can draw on it without, ruining my paint marker. And, so that way it's a little easier to see. Okay, now that my flats are all ground down, I went ahead and took a paint marker. Sharpie will do, but all mine are kind of dried up at the moment. So paint marker it is. And I drew out kind of the outline for my blade. Usually I don't do this, but considering I want this to be as straight as possible, I decided to go ahead and do it. Yeah, basically I just took a piece of flat iron, drew it out, and then kind of just didn't really freehand, I just used this piece of scrap here as a straight edge to draw out my tip, similar to the katana machete that I used. And once I get that done, then I'm going to grind in my edge, and then we're ready for heat treat. But this is going to still have a lot more grinding ahead of us. And I'll probably take an hour grind to cut that so I have that perfect cut off since it's a pretty big chunk there. So now that we have our blade finished, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the handle. My base thing is a simple disc guard, some sort of pommel. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do yet, but I'm still thinking on a few options. And then I'm going to do kind of a stacked leather handle. Don't know how well it's going to turn out, but I can't get more tactical than that with the equipment that I have. So I figured, a tactical combat katana that has nothing historically accurate about it whatsoever. Because the more I'm working on this, it's like really every tactical sword you buy that has a label on it beyond just tactical sword, they're going to be nothing like what it's labeled as being. But, some of this is just fun to, goof around with. Okay, now I have the disc guard made. I changed the shape a little bit because I didn't like it just plain round. I think that was a little better. As you can also see, I have a bunch of leather pieces stacked around. That is my leather handle. I spent probably an hour and a half cutting out all of these because it's a lot of work and I have to do it individually. Anyway, so now all I have left to do is make my pommel, which I had a piece sitting out that I don't know what I did with. One sec, found it. Just a little piece here. Nothing special, I cut off of something. I don't even know what it is. What I'm gonna do is clean it up, clean the rust of it off, drill a hole through it, just slightly smaller than a 1/4 inch, because this is gonna be threaded, and then this is gonna be threaded to where, you know, 1/4 inch goes through. So you want the hole to be just, you know, just smaller than a 1/4 inch. And then that can be screwed on underneath the stacked leather, which will be JB welded together. I find, I used to mushroom out the end of it, but I found that the stacked leather just keeps compressing, it doesn't work very well. But threading it, you don't really have that problem. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit, as well as, you know, smooth that out a smidge. And then get ready to, or then drill a hole through it and thread it. So, now that I have my pommel made and etched, because I want it to be darker for the tacticool effect, the guard made, also etched, also for tacticool effect, I'm going to, you know, mix up a bunch of JB weld so I can stack up this leather handle for the combat effect. Okay, there's really no other way to make a tactical handle with the stuff I have unless I do this. So, leather it is. Basic techniques, mix up a bunch of JB weld, put a little bit on here, put one of my leather squares on it, tighten it up as best I can, put a little bit of JB weld on the next thing, and just keep stacking. It's a long process. Just think for the top one, you don't want a ton of seeping out because that's kind of a pain to sand against that. So you want to go a little light on this first one, just enough to make it stick. The rest of them, you know, feel free to use as much as you want. A little bit of epoxy on my threads. Put a little bit on here just to make sure everything sticks where I want it to. Just like before, got to be careful so that way it doesn't end up, you know. Okay, It's the next day, tacos have been eaten, and I'm ready to finish up this blade. Basically, all I have left to do now is shape the stacked leather handle, which I mostly do with a rasp. I find it's about the quickest way. Do a little touch with a belt sander, but rasp does most of the work. I usually also use a box cutter to kind of knock things down, but I think with this setup, it's not really going to do me a whole lot of good, and I might as well just use the rasp. Especially if I want to keep it mostly square, and actually measure these out to where they're more uniform than usual. Usually these things are all over the place, so just kind of cut them. Anyway, so I'm going to start filing these down and then sand them, and then once I get that done, I'm going to give them a nice black wood stain, and, not wood stain, this isn't wood, this is leather. Black leather stain for, you know, the tacticool look, and then seal it up just so that way it's, you know, sealed. Now that we have our handle shaped, I got it with a more square look. I think it kind of fits the, I don't know, very straight, I suppose, look of the blade. I mean, the only thing that really has any curved edges is the guard and the pommel. Maybe I should have found something to make that blocky too, but that might look weird. Honestly, I think it looks pretty decent, and I was actually really starting to hate it. So, it definitely has the tactical shape that I wanted. So, all I have left to do is stain the leather, which I just got black wood stain, not wood stain, this isn't wood, black leather stain, and then just some sealer. Make sure you wear gloves. I mean, you don't have to, you know, it's not some law, but this stuff gets in your hand, it takes a lot to get it out, because it's meant to stain leather, and leather is essentially skin-ish. So, you know, this is tougher than your skin, it takes more to stain this than it does your skin. That doesn't come off. Wear gloves. And you want to make sure you use plenty, because leather will soak up a lot. Especially like right here along the edges. This isn't like a flat surface, this is like thick leather. Now we just need to seal the leather. There's other stuff to use, but this is what I could find. This smells like old saddles. I mean, it's probably what they use to seal it. Not a fun smell. There we go. Got ourselves a nice tacticool katana. Although realistically this probably has more in common with a lot of European swords as opposed to a katana. But hey, it's tacticool, who cares? So, yeah, it was kind of not going as well as I wanted to, but now that it's finished, I think it kind of looks cool. I mean, it's kind of the point. Not usually what I would carry, but just kind of as a fun project for my, you know, realizing I've been making weekly videos for a year, which doing this took me way longer than I wanted it to. Still won't get behind, but it's just took a lot longer, so I just kind of wanted to just have it done. which is probably why I wasn't liking it. But now that it's sitting here in front of me complete, you know, it's kind of looking nice. The only thing I'm more tactical would be is I found something like this made out of cheap stainless steel for 30 bucks at the mall or off Karate Mart or some other website like that. I usually don't buy off of those unless I'm buying something cheap to use as a template. I make my own stuff. Although people online still try to sell me their stuff. Usually I think it's just scams that'll try to do that.